Yes. Hello. Welcome to NAWA, Florida workshop series. Today is August the 14th, 2024. We're honored to have our very own photographer, Jill Sneidman. She discovered her passion for photography in 1977 while living in San Francisco, photographing at the Conservatory of Flowers. Jill has traveled the world photographing incredible scenes along her journey. She specializes in landscape and nature photography. She has been capturing the life of nature for over 40 years with the intention of bringing it closer to every one of us. Professional nature photography is a gift. It allows us to bring into a living space an endless moment of peace, light, harmony, beauty, perfection, insight, and wisdom. Nature photography is all about the perfect instant, to be there and recognize it as a special moment that can be set in an image. It's to know when a photograph will be worth more than 1,000 words because it portrays life and thus it comes alive. She has received many prestigious accolades and merits garnered over the years and placed her work in such esteemed places as New York City, Maryland, Florida, and Illinois. Sold many of her fine art photographic pieces to valued collectors over the years. She continues to chase the elusive perfect shot with greater passion than ever before. When asked about her favorite image, Jill replies, "I haven't taken it yet." But for us, she's already taken many of those perfect images. So with you, Jill.
Thank you, Annabelle. Appreciate all of that. So I titled my presentation, Expose Yourself, because growing up when I was a young girl, my mother always used to say, expose yourself, which didn't mean take your clothes off. It meant go out there into the world and get out there, do something, meet people, circulate. And so I felt like exposure, that's a very photographic word in my vocabulary, sounded good. And so Expose Yourself was the title that I chose for today. So moving on, this is a piece that I put together recently. I have an exhibit going on right now at John Knox Village. I have 10 photographs hanging there in their main area there. And so this shows some of the work that I've done recently, last September, in my hiking and travel to the Dolomite Mountains in northern Italy. So my thing is that I love to hike and I love to take photographs, which coincides very well with my day job, which is travel agent. I am a travel agent by trade. I've been doing that for over 40 years as well. And so they go hand in hand. I like to pick the places of interest to myself to travel to, always off the beaten path, always not where a lot of people go. I don't like to be in a lot of crowds. I don't like to be in a lot of big cities. I like to go on these crazy hikes. And a lot of the time I take a person with me, and sometimes I go on with a small group for a tour. But generally my younger daughter, Alyssa is her name, she comes with me. And we have circled a lot of different areas together, Iceland, Italy, just a myriad of different places, the Canadian Rockies. So my maiden name is Tepper. And so when I take my daughter with me, I call her the schlepper with Tepper because she carries all of my photography equipment. And I carry my camera and she carries the water and we go along and we have a grand old time. So this first photograph that I'm coming to is from Iceland. It's called The Grand Illusion. It was taken in a glacier lagoon trip on a boat. And it was a cloudy, kind of overcast, misty day. but this was a scene that I saw from the boat, and that was in that little square thing that we call the thing that you look into in the camera. And I'm always looking. I'm always looking for, like, you said in my bio, the perfect shot, the perfect moment, the perfect instant. And sometimes I don't find it right away. Sometimes I have to go back to the same place several times. It depends on where I'm at, but there have been some times in my photographic situations where, particularly up on Cape Cod, where I've gone back to the same spot probably 5 or 6 or 7 times over a period of several weeks to find the best light, the best colors, the best scene, the best whatever. It's just something that I strive for, which is basically perfection, which I think we're all striving for. This next one is from Florence, which I'm sure you all are familiar with, the Ponte Vecchio, very famous situation. And this guy was going through with this boat, and I thought that was a cool shot. We went to Florence after the Dolomite hike, which we did for a week. And then we spent about 5 days in Florence. And I got up every morning a lot earlier than she did. She slept in and I was out scouting out my locations. This was on the Dolomite trip. This is called Becco dei Mazzoti, which is the mountain behind, but the lake itself is an incredible spot. It's called Lake Fedara. It was not a walk in the park. These hikes in the Dolomites were very difficult and very challenging. And as a photographer, I like to look around and see all the beauty around, but I had to look down a lot because if I didn't, I would have tripped over the rocks that we were hiking on. It was quite daunting, but this was an incredible spot. Central Park, New York City. This I took a while ago. And I have to interject here that when I was a kid, my parents got me a Brownie camera. So I've been doing this all my life. And I went to summer camp up in the Adirondack Mountains, and I brought my Brownie camera every summer, and I took lots of pictures. And as I got older, and I went to college, as I had said earlier, I was an English major in college. Didn't do a whole lot of photography then, but in the 70s, I moved to San Francisco, and there I bought a really good camera, a film camera. Back in the day, there were film cameras. And there I started taking pictures, and they were more floral, a lot of flower pictures. I went back to the Conservatory of Flowers many times over a period of years and took so many flower pictures. And then moving on in the 80s and 90s, still using the film camera. But my kids were growing up and I didn't do a whole lot of photography in those days because you know how busy it is with kids, teenagers, etc. So when my kids grew up and got bigger and flew away in early 2000, I kind of said goodbye to the film camera and picked up the digital situation, which I continue to use today. And I really love the digital. It's so easy and so clear and so precise. The film cameras were incredible, but there's nothing like the clarity of a digital camera these days. So this is taken on Cape Cod in a place called Chatham, Mass. My husband and I were having a contest of who could get the lighthouse with the light coming out the fastest and the best. I think I won. This is back to the Dolomites. It's a famous called Cinque Torri. There are 5 big rocks, and it's a famous spot on a major hike up there in northern Italy. This is in Iceland. This is was a shot that we just happened upon, driving from one city or town to another and coming down to this area of vast expanse at almost sunset. I had my daughter pull over. It was just the two of us. And we almost drove into a ditch because I just said, like, stop, I have to get out. I have to take this. And the eeriness, the mystical situation was just, it took my breath away. So some of the side of the road photographs that I've taken are pretty amazing. I try to, when I go on a trip, I try to figure out where I want to go, what I want to shoot, what are the high points of some of the situations, but then you just fall into these things that, I just never imagine. And this is what happens. Same with this one. This is Iceland, major waterfall there. We just happened there. It was a pretty misty, cloudy day, and we buzzed in and out of there pretty quickly. And this was a shot that I got. Again, Iceland, another amazing waterfall. Iceland is just full of waterfalls. Everywhere you look, there's another waterfall. If you haven't gone there, you should definitely go. It's just unbelievable. This was in Innsbruck. This was part of the Dolomite trip in Italy. We decided to rent a car one day and go across the border to Austria. And we ended up in Innsbruck. And so my daughter and I are walking all around the town looking for a great spot, a great place to take photographs. And this is what we walked into. It's just amazing what the eye can see if you really look around. This was Iceland. This was something that I had really looked up and wanted to get to. It's a very famous spot, and you have to walk up the hill and over a little bridge in this photograph and get to the other side of the scene. And along the other side of the scene were lined up probably 50 photographers with unbelievable equipment, incredible situation, wormed our way in, got my little spot, and this was at sunset. If we had done it the next night, we would have been blown away because the wind was just incredible. I was lucky to pick the right night for this shot. This was again in the Dolomites, a beautiful spot behind this incredible refugio that you can eat at and chill at and just walk around. And I mean, the Dolomites, it was truly a magnificent area to visit. We stayed on this lake in the Dolomites, which the background are another area in the Dolomite Mountains, Lake Misurina. We stayed right in the hotel there with the white building with this beautiful scene of the lake. This next one is in Scotland, and I did a hiking trip in Scotland right before COVID. And this was a small town that we stayed at for a night or two called Shieldag. And I was busy trying to get a picture of the sunset, which I was facing outward. And then all of a sudden I turned around and I looked behind me, and this is what I saw. And so sometimes you have to look all around. You can't only look face on. You've got to look to the side, to the back, just because you might miss something. And I never want to miss anything. This was also Scotland, beautiful lake, Loch Coolin. We walked all around the lake, just a gorgeous spot. And this is all in the Highlands of Scotland. Again, I'm not a big proponent of being in major cities. I like to go off the beaten path and find these places. And this was a small little group tour that I found that took us to Scotland, and we did all through the Highland area. again, Scotland, Loch Marie in the background, Lake Marie. Loch is lake, obviously. And then I just kind of waited on this little hill that I was taking the photograph to get the biker that was biking up the hill, up the path there. And I just kind of waited and waited and waited till he got to the right spot to get that. This was taken in Northern California. It's cypress tree in Mendocino and Carmel, which I was there last November. Just kind of depicts the beautifulness and stillness and solitude of that whole scene. This was along the Pacific Coast Highway. I actually had to put my camera through a fence to get this photograph. It's funny what happens here. This was in Iceland again on the Glacier Lagoon trip. Very eerie, very misty. So I called it Play Misty for Me. Iceland again, the Glacier Lagoon. I caught the bird there in the background. This was taken in Antelope Canyon, which is one of my favorite slot canyons in the whole world. Antelope Canyon is in Arizona, but I spent many trips out in Utah. I've gone out there 3 times and done a lot of slot canyons and a lot of hiking out there. And I just feel like it calls to me, that whole area, just totally. I don't know if I really believe in life before, but I feel like I might have lived there in another life because it just is incredible. The red rocks, the massiveness of the whole thing, the slot canyons and how they are all formed, and the arches and the bridges and the tunnels and everything are just amazing. This is a special spot on Cape Cod. It's in Brewster, Mass, and we call it the Flats. So that night, the tide was in, but the tides are very extreme in this area, which they call the Flats. The tide rolls out probably several miles, and you can walk really far out when the tide is out. It's a phenomenal, incredible spot. And there are tide pools and lots of sea life and horseshoe crabs and all kinds of stuff. But you have to be careful because the tide comes in quickly, so you could get overrun by it. You have to be careful. This was taken, this is actually the front yard of my daughter's house in Hanover, Mass. It was taken the day after our first grandchild was born. And it snowed that night and that morning. And I opened the door, and this was the scene that I saw. And she lives on Teresa Lane, so that's why I called it that. This is the Dolomites, and the red building is called the Refugio. That's what I was talking about before. And behind that is that lake that I showed you in the other photograph. Amazing, just unbelievable spot. You can't even describe it. It's so big and so incredible, and so rocky. This is taken in Ireland. This is a place where we stayed outside of the main city in Ireland, and then we went on a hiking tour in Northern Ireland. So the hotel was called Powers Court, and right next door they have these incredible botanical gardens that are massive. And this was one of the scenes that I saw along the way there. This is taken on the coast of Cape Cod, on the National Seashore, at about 5:30 in the morning. I did a photo shoot with about 6 or 7 photographers and a man that was spearheading that photo shoot. And I put on these big black boots coming up to practically my knees, standing in the water and taking these photographs. It was just an incredible experience and just a thrill of a lifetime. And I think the last one is Ireland. It's called Vanishing Lake. It's on an island that we visited and went to for a day, walking around, hiking. And I assume that this lake vanishes at some point. It probably goes down because that's why they call it Vanishing Lake. Seemed like kind of cool spot. So that is the PowerPoint presentation. And now I have some show and tell things that I can show you all of how I work my trade and what I do with
You can stop sharing this. Although I was going to ask you some different things I was going to tell you about that. What did I write?
okay.
I was going to, first I was going to say is that I was going to ask you what size files do you work? I know you've printed very large. So what size are the files that you work in when you are taking your images?
They've got to be at least 2 MBs and up. You know, usually 2 to 5, I would think.
And it prints okay when you go large. I've seen your stuff on the large, on the metal and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
I mean, some are even larger, some are 10. I mean, it just depends, but you know, with people with iPhones that love to take iPhone pictures, you can enlarge iPhone pictures very large, like the way I do, 30 by 45, you know, you won't get the clarity. It'll just be all blurry and it won't look clear or good. So
The
yeah.
other one I was gonna tell you is that I've seen plenty. My aunt was Icelandic, or she passed away, but my aunt's Icelandic, and I've seen tons of pictures, but the way you capture it was exquisite. So obviously you have an eye that other people don't have. I mean, just for the color, for the composition, it's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Well, I have all of these things that I use for different variables. So I have this lens, and this is actually one that I actually don't use. This came with my camera. So this is 18 by 55 millimeters. I never use that one. This is the wide angle lens that I love to use. So that one is 10 by 18. Good for incredible wide angle pictures that you can't zoom in on. This one is very heavy and not great to be hiking with, but it's 24 by 105. It's a major zoom lens, red line, very professional. But honestly, again, it just weighs me down. Telephoto, so this is 75 to 300. So I use this sometimes, but again, sort of heavy. My favorite go-to lens is on my camera, and it's 26 by 105. And it's perfect. It just not that heavy. I can zoom in pretty far, and it just does the trick. And you know, as I said, years ago, I had a Nikon film camera that I loved. But when I got the digital in, 2000 or so, mid 2000s, I got the Canon, and I have a T5, and I absolutely love it. Great camera, easy to use. It just works. It just works well. One other thing that I've done over, actually, this was a labor of love during COVID. I made a book. And the book is Today I Can Just Be. And it was a labor of love with a really good friend of mine. And she wrote the mantras in the book, and I did the photography. So each page has a photograph of mine, and each page has one of her mantras. And we have a dedication page and a little biography. And we sold a lot of these during the last 4 or 5 years during COVID. It was $25 thing, and it just worked well. And she was so insistent about me doing this with her. And I kept saying, no, 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 I don't know, I don't know. And finally she talked me into it. And I'm so glad that we did it. Because it gave us something to do during COVID. When everything was shut down, and I'd go to her house and we go through my photographs and we go through her mantras, and you know, she would say, I have this one, and what do you think would go with that one? And we just pair it up, and it was just worked perfectly.
Can you hold it up again? And can you also send me the info on it, and I can add that to the video, the YouTube video on the information description?
I'm sorry, say
Oh,
that.
can you please hold the book up again for
Oh, yeah.
everybody to see
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Mhm.
And might have to get back, come back farther so we can see it. Come
Okay.
back, there, yeah, and hold it right there, and that's close enough to be able to kind of see it. And then if you could just send me that, and I'll add that information onto the bottom of the description on YouTube, okay?
Sure, absolutely. I was just in an exhibit at a place called Hotspots in Wilton Manors. I had 8 photographs there, and I won the People's Choice Award.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Yeah. And as I said, I have different places that I exhibit. I started really exhibiting and getting involved in different art guilds probably about 10 years ago, when my kids flew off and went their own way, and you know, got out of the house. My husband suggested that I make a brochure of my photographs, and I said to him, I don't know how to do that. I don't know, like, how am I going to do that? And he put the idea in my head. You know, once you put the idea in my head, it starts percolating. And so one thing led to another, and I made this brochure. And then I took it to Del Rey, and I walked up and down Atlantic Avenue, and I walked into the Boca Guild Gallery and showed them my brochure, and I got juried into the Boca Guild, and from there my whole thing has pretty much taken off. And
Wonderful.
joined you know, different guilds along the way, have had different solo exhibits, 2-person exhibits, and continue to strive to keep taking photographs, you know, and just keep documenting places and things that I love to travel to. I'm now thinking about my next trip and where that will be next year.
Any ideas that you could tell us? Like,
Stay
what-
tuned.
Well, is there anybody have any other questions? I know we have a couple people here then. So Annabelle or Emmy?
Jill, this has been a beautiful presentation. I've always admired your large-scale photography, nature, bringing in nature. It's just phenomenal. And now, after looking at your pictures, I really want to go to those places. I've always did, but now even more. So it's really wonderful. Your eye is amazing. Some of when you capture the reflections, I wondered if you can turn one of the images vertically, because there was one I marked it. I marked one that it looked like a person and the greenery, that you could really flip it vertical.
Yes,
So the mirror image.
yes, we have done that.
Kulan, right? Pulling. Oh my God, you can turn it and it's going to look amazing shown vertically. It's fabulous. And
I saw the man's face too. I thought I was the only one that saw that.
It's really inspirational, and how beautiful that you can capture those moments, and that you enjoy combining hiking with the photography, with taking your husband or daughter, the schlepper.
Schlepper for the tepper.
So it's been amazing. Emmy, what do you want to share with us? Remark.
Unmute yourself. Emmy, unmute yourself. Emmy, you're on mute. You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
Emmy, we cannot hear you.
There you go.
go.
Yes, now you're good.
Okay. I have a question. You said you showed us waterfall, then that place is very beautiful, and I wanted to know which country that waterfall. You said definitely that place we should go. I want to know
Iceland,
which
right? I
country.
think you said Iceland has all these waterfalls. Was it Iceland?
Yes,
Iceland.
Iceland.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
That's beautiful. I liked it.
It's the land of waterfalls. Well, when you see Foss, like Fossar or Godafoss, Foss at the end of all of those names means waterfall.
Mm,
Foss is waterfall
Okay,
in Iceland.
good.
I have a question. Where was it that the water recedes, that you have to be there and you have to be careful? Where was it?
That was on Cape Cod in a place called Brewster, Mass. All along that area. It's on the bay side of the Cape, not on the ocean side. And it's called the Flats. My daughter has a cottage up there and we go there and visit. And it's just an amazing spot. But it's called the Brewster Flats.
I've been to Panama, and in the morning, there's twice that you get the high tide. So in the morning, the water is way back. You don't see it. You just see wet sand.
Yep.
And then the tide comes back. It's pretty unbelievable. I haven't seen it elsewhere. I just saw it in Panama City.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Well,
interesting to know they have it in the cod.
interesting.
Also, when your granddaughter was born, to have that gift of that amazing tree covered with snow, that was like spiritual, really special.
Very spiritual. I wanted to call it the morning after, but I don't know. I just named it Teresa Lane for their street. So, but yes, it was unbelievable.
What is your granddaughter's name?
Granddaughter's name is Heather, actually.
Heather. So that would have been also another name, just to say the arrival of Heather.
Yes. Yeah.
I also wanted to say that your glaciers were gorgeous. It just gives that nice coldness to the blues that was well balanced. And I agree with you about Sunbeam. It was very beautiful. That feeling of the warms and through the caves there, and the whole coloring going on. And I agree
your
with you.
comments,
Sometimes
your
the
comments are
sun-
really nice when you turn
Yeah.
around and then you saw the light.
I was just gonna say that I love, sometimes I love the reflection of the sunset much more than the sunset itself, even though both are beautiful, but it's a nice reminder. And I like the juxtaposition of having the warmth on one side and the coolness on the other. When you have darkness on one side and then all warm, it's gorgeous.
Well, the sunset that night was pretty spectacular also. So actually that photograph is in an exhibit in Pembroke Pines. And so it's starting on Friday.
Wonderful.
Friday,
Beautiful work. It's been wonderful. I've always seen little bits of your stuff. It's nice to see a whole, presentation on it.
And
I appreciate it.
congratulations on your book. That is phenomenal with the mantras and that you're selling it well. It's always nice to embrace new things that are, you don't even think you can do them. And then it's so wonderful once you do. It's rewarding.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
out of the wheelhouse for sure, different mediums. So yeah.
Yeah, and just like your brochure opened up doors for you and you exhibited at the Boca Guild, and now with the book, who knows, the sky is the limit. You can go on to your next book. That's one thing I've always wanted to do, a book.
Yeah,
But
I think a lot of us, just even to pass it on to our families.
Maybe I lit the fire for you.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to write a book for children. That's my idea. But we'll see. But I hope I do accomplish that.
Nice.
You have already done so. So much success. Continued
Thank you
success.
very much. Thank you all, ladies. Thank you for.
And as soon as we get off of here, please just give me the name of your book so I can, like I said, I'll tack it on Bob. So if someone wants to look it up or research it, I don't know if you're on Amazon books, or where you're
No, not on Amazon, but I will send you
a link where to buy.
I'll send you something that will show you that. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And as long as I can put it up on the YouTube, that's good.
Perfect. Awesome.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It's been
Thank you, ladies.
wonderful, very inspirational.
Have a great
Appreciate
day.
it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. See you all.